So text and media area is used for, and as a note, it used to be called a label. So if you ever hear me fall back onto the word label, it's because it was called label for 20 years. Now it's called the text and media area. The text and media area is to put text or media in the core middle part of your course. This is used sparingly because it's easy to fill up and inundate your course with too much use of text and media area, but it's great for making a course look very standardized for you across the different sections of your course. So if I hit text and media area, it asks for a title. And if you see this asterisk in red, it means that is required. You will never see the title. So I'm going to type the word welcome in there. And then I'm going to put the information, there we go, spell it right. And then I'm going to put the information I want to be seen in this text and media area block. Now, any area that we have HTML editing access looks basically the same. It looks like this, and you'll see this block over and over again. I don't like the way it shows up. I like to see it full screen. So this last button that looks like a square there puts it in full screen mode. And now it looks more like I'm kind of using Word or any kind of online editor with all my buttons across the top. I'm going to zoom in a little bit so those buttons look a little bit bigger, so it makes a little more sense as I'm using those buttons so you can see what I'm doing. And by the way, I zoom in by holding down the control key and using my scroll on my mouse to zoom in and out of the web page. Now, every web page is zoomed in right now, if I were to go to somewhere else. So I use it sparingly, but I like to be able to see what I'm working with, so I frequently zoom in. The buttons are fairly normal. If I want to change my text with this big T, I can change the text sizes. The F is for a very limited amount of fonts that you can use. I can add more fonts, but there's no reason to have too many. But if there's somebody who's like, I really need this font, I can try to add that on Moodle as well. We can highlight things or change our text color. We can change our highlighting. We can different indents, bold, italics, underline. I think you can get used to those fairly easily. There are a couple things on here that maybe aren't normal. You can see this looks like a picture, and it's to import pictures. We can do the same thing with videos. We can add audio that we record. There's the video button right there. But basically, I can do anything in this text area, and then it shows up inside my Moodle class. So I'm just going to add some text and a picture here. So I've added some text, and I can add a picture just by clicking the picture button. And when I do that, I can choose a picture from another URL, another website if I want to, or I can browse and upload a picture here, or I can cut and paste directly into it. For instance, by using a URL, if I'm making a section on mountain climbing, I could go and get a cool mountain climbing picture of someone doing some mountain climbing. And I can go and open that in a new tab. And now I've got a picture of I didn't quite do that. Open image in new tab. There we go. So now I've got the image here, and I've got the address of that image. So I could just take that address over here and toss that right in there. Now you see right underneath here, it says, describes this image for someone who cannot see. I could put mountain climber. Well, I could say this image is for decoration only, in which case there'll be no overlay for someone who was visually impaired. And then I can just say, I'm going to add this picture the way it is, or this is huge. I'm going to go and make it much smaller. I'm going to make it 300 pixels wide. And I'm going to go ahead and go to the bottom here. And because I've zoomed in, I can't see the button that says save image. So now I've got that mountain climber in there. If I wanted to add something for my students that they would listen to, I can add audio files as well. And I can record a file if I want to. I can just hit that mic and say, Welcome to Mountain Climbing 101. We enjoy having you in our new class. And I can listen to it. Welcome to Mountain Climbing 101. And if I like it, I can attach the recording there on the file. That's what a label looks like. It's something that I'm going to put in the middle of my class that's going to show up. And obviously this picture is large. Maybe it's a poor choice. I'm going to go ahead and hit the box so it shrinks down. And I'm going to hit save and return to course. And now this label is right in the middle of my class. I'm going to zoom back out by hitting Control-0, and I go back to my normal zoom. And that's what that looks like in that class. I can go back in and change it by editing it. Maybe I wanted all of this to be centered on my page, which I obviously would want. And now I've got that centered up in the front of this. Now, I don't put pictures in my website that are that big. I do put audio files in there. Any student can then play that if they want to, merely welcoming them to the class. Or what I really use labels for is to set up a standardized view of what my class is going to look like. And I'll show you what I mean by that by going to my regular Moodle class. So here we are in my regular Moodle class, and I'll show you the small thing I use labels for. If we look down here, we can see I've got the chapter introduction, the chapter activities. That is a label with a line, And if I zoom in a little bit, you can see it a little bit better. That's too zoomed in. And then I've got my skirmishes and fights down here and my intervention activities. So I go to any one of the sections of my class. I have the same chapter reading, same chapter activities, same skirmishes and fights, and everything is laid out very much the same, even though the content is obviously different. I'm using labels, and you can say I do have a very small picture up top here introducing the topic. But I use very small labels, just text inside my site to standardize my course and to break out those activities that the students, or those, in this case, these are my resources and these are my activities that we're doing in the class, to make all the course sections look very much the same across the course, making standardized so my students understand where they are at any particular time in the course.